an allelopathic effect on corn. I do not believe in that. Here's what I do believe. The power of cereal rye. I'm going to set this up. This field was planted to corn the year before. Corn gets harvested. We come in with our no-till drill, and we planted 100 pounds to the acre of L-bond cereal rye. Now, this is important, I think, because I stated a variety-specific rye, L-bond. I don't care what your variety is. But I think we need to get away from V&S if we're going to get into a mechanical termination, because V&S is variety not stated. 6, 7, 8 varieties in that bag you're buying, and you're going to save 3 cents a pound, and you're going to have rye that's going to mature at 3 feet tall, 6 feet tall, May the 25th, June the 5th. Big difference when you're trying to terminate with a mechanical roller crimper. You're not going to do it. Okay. So we go out and we measure out a 2 foot by 2 foot square. You can do whatever you want. 3 by 3, you can do whatever you want. The point is you need to get a specific area so you know what % of an acre it is. You then clip this material off at the ground, put it in a bag, and send it to the lab. And again, I just cannot give Aaron enough credit here, because see, this is what got my mind thinking about this. We're going to maximize what that cover crop was intended to do. So at 12-inch rye, look what is in. There you go. Thank you. Okay. Now our biomass is up to 4,000 pounds. That's not enough yet. If you're going to use these thoughts, and so you cannot use the word control because that is too strong of a word, but we are trying to suppress the weeds. That's not enough biomass. So again, we need to let this rye go further into, when we get to 28-inch rye, at the nitrogen now, we are at 134 pounds. So now you start to understand my thinking process on the fact that there's not an allelopathic effect going on here. Cereal rye is a tremendous sequester of nutrients. So if you believe me and you want to go with me on this notion, let's go a little bit further and let's talk about weeds. In our system, there are not very many broadleaf weeds in our system. The early germinating broadleaf weeds, because, in my opinion, the cereal rye has sequestered the nutrients that those weeds need to survive. Then the cereal rye starts to grow, and it is canopying, and those broadleaf weeds are non-event. If you come to our farm in the spring, we typically do not have very many broadleaf weeds. Now, what we are experiencing is foxtail. And I think there's 2 or 3 reasons for that. But I think one of them is on this slide. If luckily when I had my brain hooked on when I did this study and this test, we came back after termination and we pulled a sample when it was dead. And that sample was taken 2 months after termination. And now let's go back to the 28-inch rye real quick. See the biomass? That's 6,800 pounds. We're getting there. That's going to be enough. We really want 8, 9, 10,000 pounds. Now we got to be careful, because now we're starting to get to levels of density that when you go in on, let's say, April 25th, where I live, that's approximately when we're going to be at boot stage, April 25th to May 1st, and we plant our soybeans into that, and those soybeans start to come up, and that rye is taken off, and it's planted at 150 pounds, which is what we planted the rye at this fall. We got to be careful, because we are going to change the physiological structure of that soybean. That bean is going to start reaching for the sky. And that rye now is probably 4 feet tall. So we have to understand what's happening here. So I would err toward planting beyond boot stage and still terminating at anthesis, and your beans would be less than V2 growth stage. V1, V1.5 is a pretty good stage to be rolling these beans down. So, the reason why this works is because the time from boot stage to anthesis is about 40 or 45 days, and your soybeans will not be beyond V2.5 growth stage. Because if we get to V3, we're going to start shredding leaves, breaking branches, and those beans in that thick of an environment are really going to look funky. They're going to be about 8 inches tall, 9 inches tall, and the first node's going to be about 4 inches off the ground. So we have to understand what's happening here. Okay, look at how much 0060 was released into the profile after 2 months. Is all of that available? Probably not, but there's plenty enough available to raise that soybean crop. The power of the Lonza fixation clover, same thing.